tole barattoota qaqqaalii baga nagaan gara alii saayinsii YouTube chaanaalitti nagaan dhuftanii har'a qormaata intiransii barnoota keemistirii bara 2017 yookiin bara 2025 akka lakkoofsalaatti barattoota kutaa 12ffaaf bara kana dhiyaate deebii fi ibsa gaa isaanii wajjin gaafilee intiransii irra dhufan gaafilee 80 hundaafuu deebii fi ibsa gaa isaanii wajjin tiitoraalii guutuu afaan oromootiin qabadhee isiniif dhiyaadhee jira. So our today's tutorial is on chemistry entrance exam of 2017 or 2025 with answer and with explanation for all 80 multiple choice question of 2025 chemistry Ethiopian University entrance exam full tutorial in Afan Oromo. So don't forget your video kana ilaaltan wanti isin dagachuun qabne maalidha VPN yookiin siphon banattanii video kana ilaaluun dagatina sababni isaas gaafa VPN yookiin siphon banattanii ilaaltan video quality qabu kasirritti isin mul'atu waan argattaniif VPN banattanii akka ilaaltan asumaan afeerraa kooti akkasuma video kana like gochuun alii saayinsii YouTube channel subscribe gochuun maatii alii saayinsii YouTube ta'uu hin dagatina gaafa like subscribe gootanii maatii alii saayinsii YouTube taatan wanta angari lakkisu dafee waan isin bira ga'uuf like subscribe gochuun maatii alii saayinsii YouTube akka taatan asumaan afeerraa kooti. So let us start our today chemistry entrance exam with answer and explanation for all 80 multiple choice question full tutorial in Afan Oromo. So let us start. Educational Assessment and Examination Service Ethiopian Secondary School Leaving Certificate Examination Chemistry Senate 2070 as Ethiopian calendar or June or July 2025 as Gregorian calendar. Number of items gaafleen dhiyaate qormaan kun qormaata chemistry entrance bara 2017 yoo ta'u gaafleen dhiyaate gaaflee 80 sa'aatiin kenname sa'a 2 fudhakkaadha. Subject code yookiin koodiin barnootichaa 05 booklet code ammoo 421 jechuudha. Kanaafuu gaaflee dhiyaataniif deebii sirrii ta'e filadhu jedha tokko tokkoon deebii sirrii ta'e filachuudhaan deebisnaa jechuudha. Question number 1, which type of glass is made by heating a mixture of silica, sodium carbonate and limestone? Gosoota burcuqqoo armaan gadii keessaa yookiin gosoota gilaasii armaan gadii keessaa kan makaa silikaa sodium carbonate fi limestone ho'isuudhaan hojjetamu gosa burcuqqoo armaan gadii keessaa isa kam jedha. So that should be A, soda lime. Means that soda lime is made by heating mixture of silica, sodium carbonate and limestone. Soda lime glass is the most commonly used in everyday life such as windows, bottles, jars and drinking glasses. Akkasuma filannoowwan biroo yoo laallu kan filannoo deebii ta'uu hin dandeenye boron silkeetiin kan irraa hojjetamu silkaa boron oxide irraa kan hojjetamu ta'u innis ho'a dandamachuu meeshaa danda'u irraa kan hojjannudha jechuudha. Isaanis keessattuu kitchenii keessatti yookiin ammoo iddoo qodaa meeshaalee mana nyaata qopheessuun keessa itti fayyadamnu kan irraa hojjannudha. Perixiin ammoo innis brandii maqaa isaa boron silkeetiiti jechuudha. Innis oven safe dish yookiin lab equipment keessatti kan meeshaalee laboratory keessa irraa hojjannu kan itti fayyadamnudha. Quartz glass kan jennuun immoo kun immoo silkaa qulqulluu irraa kan hojjetamu yoo ta'u innis melting point yookiin qabxii biqinaa guddaa kan qabuu fi meeshaalee specialized ta'an kanneen akka optics high temperature applicationidhaaf kan itti fayyadamnudha jechuudha. Question number 2, consider the following galvanic cell. Galvanic cell armaan gadii hubachuudhaan deebiseedha. When the zinc strip was connected to metal B at 25 degrees Celsius, the cell potential reading on voltmeter shows 0.51 volt. Which of the following is standard reduction potential of metal B when the zinc cell potential is given negative 0.76 volt. Asirratti gaafin kuni maal nu kenneera sibiilli zinc fi sibiilli inni bira B inni jennuuni cell potential reading voltmeter irratti 0.5 volt kan qabu fi standard reduction potential metal B barbaadaan jedha kan zinki nu kan nabeera jechuudha. Standard cell potential zinki negative 0.76 volt in can never actually. Kanafu can be megatira, so that should be D. The cell potential reading in voltmeter for B is equal to negative 0.25 volt. So first, the cell potential in akkata itti barbaadnu kennameera. The cell potential is equal to cell potential of cathode minus cell potential of anode in argana jechuudha. Formula kana fayyadamuun dirqama jechuudha. And here in this galvanic cell, zinc is oxidized anode, means it gives positive charge. Where metal be reduced, it gives cathode negative charge. So the given cell potential is equal to what? 0.51 volt, and cell potential for zinc in voltmeter is negative 0.76 volt. So 0.51 volt is equal to the cell potential for metal B minus the cell potential for zinc, which means cell potential for metal B minus negative 0.76 volt for the value of zinc. So the 0.51 volt is equal to cell potential B minus plus 0.76 volt. Mali fi kun gara positivity jirama, negative su negative gara positive wanje jirama hejura. So cell potential for B or the reduction potential for metal B is equal to 0.51 volt minus 0.76 volt, which give the cell reduction potential for metal B is equal to negative 0.25 volt. So that should be perfectly D. Question number 3. Which of the following polymer is used to make ropes, clothes, hair ropes, and stockings? Polymerota armaan gadi keessa tushaa yookiin gamada hojjechuudhaaf uffata akkasuma fi fila mataadhaan filannu fi akkasuma stockings meeshaalee jedhamu hojjechuudhaaf polymerii fayyadu isaan armaan gadi keessa isa kam jedhama? So that should be C. Nylon. Means that nylon is a synthetic polyamide known for its strongest elasticity and durability, making it is ideal for ropes, clothes, stocking, and various modeled items like hair combs. Whereas bakelite is hard, brittle plastic used in elastic insulators, kitchenware, not typically for ropes, clothes, and stocking. Teflon is non-sticky and chemically resistant, mainly used in cookware, coating, and certain industrial application, not for cloth, textile, or combs. Perpex is also known as acrylic glass. It is transparent and grid used in shatter-resistant alternative to glass in windows, things like display cases, lens, not for listed item. So that you perfectly see. Question number 4. Which of the following catalyst is used in Ostwald process for production of ammonia? Ademsa Ostwald yookiin immoo oomisha ammonia keessatti akka catalyst kan fayyadamnu isaan armaan gadii keessaa isa kam jedha? So that should be D. Platinum. Means that platinum often allowed with rhodium is the primary catalyst used in the first step of Ostwald process, where ammonia is oxidized to nitric acid, whereas copper oxide is a catalyst in some organic reactions, but not in Ostwald process. Iron is also catalyst in Haber-Bosch process for ammonia synthesis, but not in Ostwald process. Vanadium oxide is a catalyst used in contact process for sulfuric acid production, not for Ostwald process. So that should be perfectly D. Question number 5. Which one of the following correctly illustrates the hybridization orbitals beryllium in molecule of beryllium chloride? So that should be A. As keessatti maal nu gaafate hybridization orbital beryllium chloride keessatti qabu isa kam jedha. So that should be A kana ta'a jechuudha. Akkamitti beryllium ground state keessatti 1 S2 2 S2 qaba. Ergasi excited state yoo seenu to have field orbital qabata jechuudha. Akkamitti 1 electron from 2s orbital promoted to gara 2p takketin dabarti kun ammoo resulting in 2s orbital 1 electron in 2p orbital ta'a jechuudha. Tokko sp orbital irra tafa 2s orbital irra tafa tokko ammoo gara 2p ce'a jechuudha. Lama waan qabatee ta'u jechuudha. Then hybridization in uumu sp orbital ta'a sp hybridization ta'a jechuudha. Akkamitti kan jedhu jalqaba irratti isolated beryllium kophaa 2s irratti lama qaba. Ergasi ammoo erga excited ta'e tokko electron tokko gara 2p tti dabarsa jechuudha. Ergasi mix gaafa ta'u sp hybridization uuma jechuudha. sp hybridization uuma kanaafuu r kan jedhu sirriidha jechuudha. Question number 6. What is the electron configuration of oxygen molecule as per the molecular orbital model? Atomic number of oxygen is 8. Electron configuration molecule oxygen akka molecular orbital model itti isaan armaan gadi keessa isa kam ta'a jedha. Atomic number in oxygen is 8 kanaafu electron configuration akka molecular orbital model itti isa armaan gadi keessa isa kam ta'a jedha. So that should be D. Means that the molecular orbital electron configuration of oxygen super ion can be determined by considering the total number of electrons has what? 70 electrons. Means that 8 from each oxygen atom and 1 for negative charge. So that should be D. Here, the configuration fills the molecular orbital in the increasing energy order. The presence of 2 unpaired electrons in the antibonding orbital explain why oxygen is paramagnetic, the property that is classical Lewis structure fails to predict. So that should be correctly D. Question number 7. Which of the following factor does not affect the rate of chemical reaction having solid reactant? Isaan armaan gadi keessa factorin chemical reaction solid reactant qabu irratti dhiibbaa hin geessine ta'e isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Volume of reaction vessel. Means that volume of the reaction vessel does not directly affect the rate of reaction for solid reactant because the solid do not expand to fill the container and their surface area remains unchanged regardless of the vessel size. When we look at other choice contains factors that affect rate of chemical reaction having solid reactant. Physical state of reactant, temperature and concentration of reactant can jedhu chemical reaction solid reactant qabu irratti dhiibbaa qabu jechuudha. Garuu volume of reaction vessel dhiibbaa hin qabu jechuudha. Question number 8. At a particular temperature, the equilibrium constant is equal to 0.36 for the reaction of sulfur trioxide, which gas gives sulfur dioxide and oxygen molecule. In an experiment, 1.00 mole for sulfur trioxide is introduced into a 1.00 liter container. It was found that there is 0.5 mole of sulfur dioxide at equilibrium in the same volume. Which of the following prediction can be drawn from the given data? Asirratti reaction nu kenname kana keessatti equilibrium constantin 0.0 jaadha reaction kana keessatti jechuudha. Experiment kana keessatti sulfur trioxide moolii tokko qabu gara litrii container litrii tokko qabutti yeroo naqamu maal nu kenne 0.5 mole of sulfur dioxide equilibrium at equilibrium irratti the same volume kan nu kenne yoo ta'e prediction armaan gadi keessa data nu kennamerraa kan argachuu dandeenyu yookiin irraa mul'atu isa kami jedha. So that should be C. The reaction will proceed to the left. Means that jalqaba irratti given maaltu nu kenname equilibrium constant 0.6 0.3 nu kenname. Initial mole of sulfur trioxide namo tokko mole dha. Kanaafuu 1 molarity nu kennu danda'a jedhu. At equilibrium, mole of sulfur dioxide also 0.50 mole in 100 liter. So sulfur dioxide equilibrium is equal to what? 0.50 molar. So from the stoichiochemistry, if 0.5 mole of sulfur dioxide is formed, then 0.5 mole of sulfur trioxide must be have reacted, and 0.50 mole of oxygen molecule must have been formed. Therefore, at equilibrium, sulfur trioxide equilibrium is equal to 1 minus 0.5, which is give 0.5 molarity, and oxygen molecule at equilibrium is equal to 0.5 molarity. So calculating the reaction coefficient, equal to the concentration at equilibrium of sulfur dioxide times oxygen molecule divided by that of sulfur trioxide, which gives 0.50. So since the coefficient reaction is less than the equilibrium constant, the system has one more product than it should be at equilibrium. So the reaction will proceed to the left to form more sulfur trioxide. So that should perfectly see. Question number 9. A mineral absorbed purple light of frequency 7.11 times 10 raised to the power of 40. Here it is. What is the wavelength in nanometer of the absorbed light when speed of light is equal to 3.00 times 10 raised to the power of 8 meter per second? Asarratti mineraalin kun purple light frequency kan kennu torba frequency isaa torba tuqaa tokko baay'isu kudhan powerii kudha afurii heritage kan ta'u yoo ta'e wavelength isaa nanometriidhaan meeqa ta'a? Speed saffisni ifaa 3.00 baay'isu kudhan powerii 8 meter per second kan ta'u yoo ta'e kanaafuu wavelength isaa dabbalin sagalee kana hagam ta'edha. So that should be C 421.9 nanometer ta'e jechuudha. Akkamitti dhufe kan oolaalle relationship between frequency, wavelength and the speed of light is what? The speed of light is equal to lambda or wavelength times frequency. Kanafu to find the wavelength, we are arranging what? The wavelength is equal to speed of light divided by frequency. Hala kanan arganna jechuudha. Kanafu maaltu nu kenname surface ifa speed of light nu kennameera 3.00 baay'isu kudhan power 8 meter per second yoo ta'u akkasuma frequency namo 7.11 baay'isu 7.11 baay'isu kudhan power 14 heritage dha jechuudha. Ergasi ammoo lambdaan kenna qixxeeta formula magalchuudha 3.00 baay'isu kudhan power 8 irra 7.11 kudhan power 14 kun ammoo 4.21 sagal baay'isu power negative 7 meter ta'e jechuudha. Kan ammoo gara nanometeritti gaafa jijjiirru isa 4.21 sagal baay'isu 10 power negative 7 times 10 raised to 9 nanometer itti waan jijjiirru jechuudha. 10 the power of 9 nanometer per meter ida kana gaafa walirraa walin baay'ifnu negative 7 sagal irraa gaafa irrattu 10 the power of 2 tafa kuna mo lama of dubachi gaafa of gara fulduraatti positive 10 the power of 2 kana gaafa balleessinu 4.21 kana step lama gara fulduraatti gaarin ba 4.21 nanometer ta'e jechuudha. So that you perfectly see. Question number 10. Why do atoms absorb energy when their electrons undergo transition from lower energy to higher energy level? This is because atomonni yeroo energy fudhatan yookiin annisaa fudhatan electronin transition gaggeessu jechuudha. Kun ammoo yeroo lower energy irraa gara high energy level itti yeroo deemanidha. Kun ammoo maaliif ta'e jedha. Sababni isaa maaliif jedha. So that should be D. The electron of atoms move from one orbit to lower radius to another one higher larger radius. Means that when an atom absorbs energy such as heat, light, electricity, it is electron gain that energy and jump from lower energy level closer to the nucleus to higher energy level further from the nucleus. Whereas electron release energy emit light when transition from higher to lower energy level. When we see B, electron exit in discrete allowable for energy level. When we see C, electrons move from higher radius to lower radius. That is the release of energy, not absorption. So that is perfectly D. Question number 11. What are the quantum number for 5s orbital? 5s orbital irratti quantum numberin isa armaan gadi keessa akkamitti ibsama yookiin isa kam ta'edha. So that should be A, n is equal to 5, L equal to 0, ML is 0, MS is positive 1 over 2. Positive or negative 1 over 2. So that's perfectly A. The correct quantum numbers for 5s orbital, N in 5 ita because 5th shell irra jiru jechuudha. L in 0 ta. For s orbital L in 0 ta jechuudha. ML in 0 da. L in kenna 0 1 ta'eef jechuudha. MS in ammoo positive yookiin negative 1 over 2 ta. Kun ammoo represents two possible spin state of an electron 1 ta'eef jechuudha. So that is perfectly A. BCD DB miti sirrii miti jechuudha. Fakkeenyaaf B yoo fudhanne L in kenna 2 yoo ta'e D orbital irratti argama malee S orbital in ta'u. Akkasuma C yoo fudhanne L in kenna 1 yoo ta'e P orbital irratti argama. Akkasuma D yoo fudhanne gaafa ML in 0 ta'u L in 0 ta'u qaba. Kanaafuu ML in negative 1 yoo waan jedheef sirrii miti jechuudha. So that is perfectly A. Question number 12. Which of the following correct about the set quantum numbers assigned to two electrons of helium atom? Isaan armaan gadi keessa tuuta quantum number tuuta lakkoofsa quantumii electron helium lama qabuuf dhugaa kan ta'e yookiin sirrii kan ta'e isa kami jedha. So that should be B. The second electron occupies the same orbital as the first with opposite sign quantum numbers. Means that according to the Pauli exclusion principle, no two electrons in an atom can have the same set of all 4 quantum numbers. So while both electrons share the principal quantum number and azimuthal quantum number for s orbital, the magnetic quantum number ml for only orientation of an s orbital, they must differ in what is their spin quantum numbers. One electron has positive 1 over 2 and other have negative 1 over 2. So the other choices are not correct. For example, if we see A, not possible in 1s orbital, only one orientation. When we see C, violates Pauli exclusion principle. When we see D, it also violates Pauli exclusion principle. So that should perfectly be. Question number 30. What is the bond formed between two or more atoms by sharing electron? Isaan armaan gadi keessa bondin atomii lama yookiin lama ol jidduutti elektronota walii qooduudhaan share gochuudhaan uumamu bondi armaan gadi keessa isa kam jedha. So that should be B. Covalent bond. Means that covalent bond is formed when atoms share one or more pairs of electrons. This type of bond typically occurs between non-metal atoms that have similar electronegatives. When we see other choice, valence bond theory describes the formation of covalent bond but not the name of bond itself. When we see metallic bond, it occurs in metals involving share of the delocalized electrons, not direct sharing between specific atoms. And also we see D, ionic bond, involves the transfer of electron between atoms, resulting in the formation of ions and electrostatic attraction, not sharing. So the answer perfectly B. Question number 40. Which statement below correctly describe dipole-dipole force? It is force that exists. himota armaan gadii keessa humna dipole qajeellotti yookiin sirrii kan ibse isa kam jedha. Humni kun humna akkamitti argamudha. So that should be C, between polar molecules. Means that dipole force are attractive force between positive end one polar molecules and a negative end of another polar molecules, containing a directional force that influence boiling point, melting point, and the solubility. When we see other choice, when we see A, this describe what? Induce the dipole interaction, not dipole force. When we see B, this also interact via London repulsion force, not dipole force. When we see D, in all molecules, not true. Only polar molecules exist in dipole force, so that should be C. Question number 50. Comparing the force between molecules of similar molar masses, which one of the following produce the weakest force? Humnoota armaan gadii molecuulota wal fakkaatan jidduutti wal bira qabnee kan ibsinu yoo ta'e, humnoota arbaan gadii keessaa inni hundarra baay'ee dadhabaa ta'e humna isa kami jedha. So that should be A, van der Waals force. Means that van der Waals force are the weakest among intermolecular force. Comparison of intermolecular forces similar molar masses. So van der Waals force yookiin London repulsion kan jennuun hundarrayyuu baay'ee humna dadhabaa ta'edha jechuudha. Temporary dipole in non-polar molecules. Describe wangoonu. Hydrogen bondin cimaadha garuu ionic bondi irra dadhabaadha. Ionic bondinis cimaadha garuu covalent bondi irra dadhabaadha jechuudha. Hunda irra cimaan covalent bondi irra, hunda irra dadhabaan ammoo van der Waals force dha jechuudha. So that should be perfectly A. Question number 60. What is the limiting reactant? It is the reactant that limiting reactant jechuun maal jechuudha? Inni immoo reactant akkamiitidha? So that should be A. It is a reactant that completely consumed when the reaction goes to completion. Means that the limiting reactant or limiting reagent is substance that in a chemical reaction that is used up first, thereby limiting the amount of product that can be formed. Once this reactant is gone, the reaction stops even if other reactant is still available. When we see other option, B describes what? Excess reactant, not a limiting one. When we see C, again it is excess reactant. When we see D, that applies catalyst, not reactant. So that is perfectly A. Question number 70. In which of the following components of environment does photosynthesis take place? Isaan armaan gadi keessa naannoo photosynthesis keessa gaggeeffamu yookiin environmentii photosynthesis keessatti gaggeeffamu kan hammatu isaan armaan gadi keessa isa kam jedha. So that should be A, biosphere. Means that biosphere encompasses all life on the earth, including plants and other organisms that perform photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants, algae, and some bacteria convert sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into glucose and oxygen. Kanaafuu biosphere inni jennuun lubbu qabiyyii lafarra kana jiraatan biqiloota dabalatee organizmoota biroo photosynthesis kanneen gaggeessan hunda kan of keessatti hammatudha jechuudha. When we see other option, B, lithosphere refers to what? Earth solid outer layer, that is low rock and soil, not where photosynthesis occur. Hydrosphere is also includes all water bodies, while aquatic aquatic plant and algae perform photosynthesis in water. They are living organisms, so process still belong to in biosphere. Atmosphere is provide carbon dioxide and sunlight, which is essential for photosynthesis, but not the process itself does not occur in air. It happens in living cell. So that is perfectly A. Question number 18. Which of the following is not true about greenhouse effect and greenhouse gas? Isaan armaan gadi keessa waa'ee gaasota greenhouse jedhamu dhiibbaa isaanii dhugaa kan hin taane yookiin waa'ee greenhouse dhugaa kan hin taane isa armaan gadii keessaa isa kam jedha. So that should be A, the greater percentage of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, the cooler the air should be. Kanafu gaasonni greenhouse jedhamu illee atmospheric keessa kan baay'ata hoote temperature lafaanii qorreedha soba jechuun baay'ee ho'a malee. Kanafu aadha jechuudha. An increase in greenhouse gas leads to what? More rapid infrared radiation and thus warmer airs. The greater concentration of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane and water vapor, the more infrared radiation is trapped, leading to higher global temperature, not cooler ones. So that's perfectly A. The other, when we see B, option B, these gases do not absorb infrared radiation and thus do not contribute to greenhouse effect. When we see C, carbon dioxide and water vapor are greenhouse gases because they absorb and remit infrared radiation, contributing to global warming. When we see D, greenhouse gases is trapped of infrared radiation by certain gases in the atmosphere. So the answer is perfectly A. Question number 19. In which of the following the type of natural resource and their given correctly paired? Their example, the given example correctly paired. Qabeenya uumamaa armaan gadii keessa qabeenya uumamaatii fi fakkeenyi isaa sirrii kan firoome isa armaan gadii keessa isa kam jedha. So that should be C, renewable resource and crops in jedhu sirriidha jechuudha. That should be C. Means that crops are what? Renewable resource because they can be grown, regrown, replenished naturally over a short period of time, especially with suitable farming practice. They rely on sunlight, water, and soil nutrients, and they can be harvested seasonally. When we see other option, when we see ayolalle bishaan qabeenya haroomuu danda'udha. Non-renewability bakka kun asumatti deebi'eera. Akkasuma yoo caalaallu gaafa laallu wells come from what? Living animals like sheep, which can be shared repeatedly. So it is renewable resource, not non-renewable. When we see copper, it is non-renewable resource, not renewable. So that is perfectly C. Question number 20. Which of the following compound is Bronsted Lowry base? Compound armaan gadii keessa Bronsted Lowry base kan ta'e isa kam jedha. So that should be C, ammonia. Means that ammonia is Bronsted Lowry base because it can accept a proton to form ammonium ion due to lone pair of electron on the nitrogen atom. When we see other option, hydrogen sulfide can act as weak acid, donating proton, not accept. When we see hydrochloric acid, it is strong acid, readily donating proton. Again, when we see boron trifluoride, is a loose acid, accepting electron pairs, but not Bronsted Lowry base acid as it does not accept proton. So the answer is perfectly C. Question number 21. In activity during laboratory season, a small amount of lead bromide catalysts were placed in a beaker. 2 electrodes are inserted until they are in a contact with lead bromide catalysts. When the lead bromide catalysts in the beaker are gently heated, which of the following observed? Gocha laboratory tokko keessatti hamma xannoo lead bromide catalystii beakerii tokko keessa kan keenyu ta'e ergasii electrodii lama gara lead bromide kanaan kan walte lead bromide CS2 kanaan kan walte yoo ta'e suutaan jenne lead bromide kana suutaan beakerii kana kanoo isnu yoo ta'e maaltu daawwatama isaan armaan gadii kana keessa isa kantu mul'achuu danda'edha. So that should be D, bromine gas is involved at anode. Means that when lead bromide is gently heated, it melts and becomes molten ionic compound, allowing electrolysis to occur. In this process, at At the cathode, negative electrode, lead ions gain electron reduction to form liquid lead metal. Again, at anode, positive electrode, bromide ions lose electron oxidation to form bromine gas. When we see other option, when we see A, oxidation occurs at anode, not and the lead ions are reduced at cathode. So lead, not cathode, it is reduced at cathode. When we see B, reduction occurs at the cathode, not the anode. Bromide ions are oxidized at anode, not cathode. When we see C, so that actually perfectly the bromine gas is involved at anode. Question number 22. What is the name given to the pollution caused by dumping of non-biodegradable wastes in the environment? Wantonni naannoo faalan kanneen lafarratti kuufamanii bosuu hin dandeenye yookiin kanneen hin burkutoofne yookiin xuraawaan burkutaa'uu hin dandeenye faalama naannoo kan fidu isaan armaan gadi keessaa isa kam jedha. So that should be C, land pollution. Means that land pollution refers to the contamination of Earth's surface due to dumping of non-biodegradable wastes such as plastics, metals, glass, and chemicals. These materials do not decompose naturally and they accumulate in the soil, landfills, and open areas, harming ecosystem and human health. Kanafu land pollution kan jennuun wantoonni burkutaa'uu hin dandeenye kanneen akka pilaastikaa, sibiilota, burcuqqoo fi keemikaalonni garaagaraa lafarratti gaafa ta'anii uumaman burkutaa'uu waan hin dandeenyeef land pollution yookiin faalama lafaa fiduu jechuudha yookiin faalama sirna koo fiduu jechuudha. Akkasumas namarratti dhiibbaa fayyaa namarratti dhiibbaa guddaa qabu jechuudha. So that is perfectly see. When we see other pollution, water pollution involves contamination of entire rivers, lakes, and ocean. When we see option B, sound pollution, it is noising pollution. It's caused by excessive or harmful level of noise. When we see option D, air pollution results from harmful gases and particles released into the atmosphere. So that is perfectly see land pollution. Question number 23. Question number 23. What is the purpose of conversion of pig iron to the steel? Faayidaan pig iron gara steelitti jijjiiruu maalidha jedha. So that should be D, to remove impurities by oxidation. Kanafu wanti faayidaan pig iron gara steelitti jijjiiruuf impurity oxidation dhaan dhabamsiisuudhaaf jechuudha. Oxygen is used to oxidize and eliminate impurities like carbon and silicon from the pig iron to make steel. When we see other choice, iron is the main component of steel. We do not reduce its amount. The iron content is already high, so the goal is what? Purification, not increasing iron. When we see reduction is used to extract iron from the ore, not to provide pig iron into the steel. So that is perfectly D. Question number 24. Which of the following statements correctly describe the law of conservation of mass? Himotar mangadi kessa sera law of conservation of mass qajeelloon ka ibsa yookiin sirrii ka ibsa isa kam jedha. So that should be C, mass neither created nor destroyed during chemical reaction. Kanafu sirri walgitaangaa maal jedha hammi wantoota walnyaata reaction keessatti hin badusi hin uumamusi isma dura jirutu ta'a ka jedhudha. So that should be perfectly C. Means that law of conservation of mass states in any chemical reaction the total mass of reactant equal to the mass of product. Atoms are simply rearranged, not created or destroyed. Kanafu sirri walgitaangaa maal jedha walnyaatinsa reactionii walnyaatinsa chemical kamin keessattuu hammi walqixxaatota reactant fi product walqixxeedha. Kanafu atomin kamu rearrange ta'uudha iddoo wal jijjiiruu danda'u malee hin uumamusi hin badanisi kan jedhudha jechuudha. So when we see other option A, it define the law of definite proportion. When we see B, it define definite proportion. Also again, when we see D, it is incorrect means of remain constant. So that perfectly incorrect mass of remains constant. So that perfectly C. Question number 25. What is the density of methane at pressure of 900 torr and the temperature of 25 degrees Celsius when R constant is equal to 0.08 atmosphere liter per mole, K one atom is equal to 706 torr. So what is the density of methane? As keessatti density methane rukuni methane meeqa tara pressure dhibba sagal torr irratti temperature 25 degrees Celsius irratti meeqa ta'edha. So that should be D 0.78. To find the density of methane, we use ideal gas law rearranged for density. Density is equal to pressure times molar mass over gas constant times temperature in Kelvin. Kanafu maaltu nu kenname pressure nu kennameera molar mass in kudha gram per mole nu kennameera akkasuma gas constant nu kennameera jechuudha. Innis 0.082 atmosphere temperature 25 degrees Celsius kun immoo gaafa Kelvin jijjiiru 298 Kelvin ta'a jechuudha. So then convert pressure from the torr into the atmosphere. Pressure nu kenname gara mitti jijjiirra gara atmosphere itti gaafa jijjiirru 900 hiruu 706 kun ammoo tokko 8 atmosphere nu kenna jechuudha pressure jechuudha. Kanaafuu ergasii gara formula kennaatti galchuudha jechuudha. Pressure baay'isu molar mass pressure kenna tokko 8 baay'isu 16 hiruu 0.082 baay'isu 298 ta'a. Kana ammoo gaafa kana hirru 0.78 arganna jechuudha. Kanaafuu density ganna gaafa calculate kunu 0.78 ta'a. So that should perfectly D. Question number 26. It takes 2.25 minutes for 0.02 mole of helium to diffuse. How long it will take to diffuse for the same amount of methane gas when of the methane when the molar mass of helium is equal to 4 gram per mole and the molar mass of methane is 60 gram per mole. Amma asirratti gaafi diddami jaaffaa kanarratti maal nu kenname maal nu gaafate heliumin 0.02 moleculein daqiiqaa 2.2 5 minute keessatti kan diffuse kan ta'u yoo ta'e amount wal fakkaataaf methane gasin diffuse ta'uudhaaf hagamitti fudhata jedha. So that should be B 4.5 minutes. So let us look. To solve this, we use Gram's law diffusion, which states that the time for gas 1 divided for time for gas 2 equal to the square root of mass 1 divided by molar mass of the gas 2, where T1 and T2 are time for gas 1 and 2 to diffuse, M1 and M2 are their molar masses. So let gas 1 be methane and the gas 2 helium. So what is given? Time is for helium 2.25 minutes. Molar mass for helium is 4 gram per mole. Molar mass for methane is 16 gram per mole. So put into the formula. Ergasi gara formula ketti kan galchinu yoo ta'e time for methane divided by time for helium, which is 2.25, is equal to the square root of 60 over 4. Kun ammoo square root of 60 over 4 root keessa baasuudhaaf dura 16 afur gaafa square root keessa ba'u 2 ta'a. Kanaafuu time for methane divided by time for helium is equal to 2 ta'a jechuudha. Ergasii kana ammoo gaafa criss cross goonu time for methane equal to 2 times 2.25, which is equal to 4.5 minutes. So that should perfectly be. Question number 27. Which one of the following statement correctly defines rate of reaction? The rate of reaction is Ishanar Mangadi Kesa. Rate of reaction sirri kan ibse. Himar Mangadi Kesa. Rate of reaction sirri kan ibse. Isa kami jira. So the rate of reaction is which one? So that should be D. Rate of reaction is the change in concentration of reactant or product per unit type. So the rate of reaction, chemical reaction, refers to how quickly reactants are consumed or products are formed over time. So typically express the rate of reaction equal to the change of concentration of reactant or product divided by a time. When we see other option, rate of diffusion of gas is not, it is this related to gas vapor, not reaction rate. When we see B, the reaction mechanism, not right. When we see it is enthalpy or in thermodynamics, so not right. So that is perfectly D. Question number 28. Consider the following gaseous reversible reaction is at state of equilibrium. Which of the following when phosphorus chloride gas plus chloride gas again gas gives phosphorus pentachloride? Which of the following changes in concentration will cause equilibrium shift to the right? Gas reversible reaction in nukanamera state equilibrium in rajrajan yofdanne walyatinsa concentration in nukaname kana equilibrium gara mirgat kan gara galchu yo indikum irrat apply ta irajra. So that should be B. Increasing concentration of the reactant and a decreasing concentration of product. Means that according to Lee-Charles principle, if the system at equilibrium is disturbed, it will shift to the concentration of the change and restore equilibrium. Increasing reactant of the phosphorus chloride and chloride gas, this pushes reactant forward to form more phosphorus pentachloride. Decreasing the product of also ensures the system shifted to right to replace the lost product. So that should perfectly be increase the concentration of the reactant and a decreasing concentration of product will shift the system to the right to replace the lost product. When we see other option, A shifts to the left. When we decrease the reactant and increase the product, it shifts to the left. When we see increasing both reactant product, it is may not shift. It is significantly stay at equilibrium. When we see D decreasing both reactant and product, it is also unlikely shift to equilibrium clearly. So unlikely to shift. So that perfectly B. Question number 29. Aluminum reacts with oxygen to form aluminum oxide. What is the coefficient of aluminum after balancing the reaction? Aluminum in oxygen wajjin gaafa wanyatu aluminum oxide uuma jechuudha. Kanaafuu coefficient aluminum in balance reaction kana balance gochuudhaaf fayyadamnu isa armaan gadi keessaa isa kam ta'uu danda'aadha. So that should be C4. Means that to find the correct coefficient of aluminum in balanced reaction with oxygen, let us write unbalanced equation. Jalqaba unbalanced equation kana barreessina. Erga barreessina aluminum plus oxygen, it gives aluminum plus aluminum oxide. So then step by step balancing. Step jalqaba irratti aluminum atomi one product side irratti kan qabnu aluminum lama. Inni jalqaba irra jiru immoo tokko. Kanaafuu so we needed to tell aluminum atoms at the reactant side. Kanaafuu isa jalqaba irratti aluminum lama gochuu qabna jechuudha. Ka dhumaadha waan ta'eef jechuudha. Ergasi oxygen atom ilaalla. Oxygen atom yoo ilaallu 3 oxygen atom jira. Isa product keessa jechuudha. Isa jalqaba irratti garuu oxygen kenna diatomic waan ta'eef lamatu jira. Kanaafuu 1.5 oxygen molecule to get 3 oxygen atom. Kanafu tokko shanafa molecule yola mamba atisadita aychuda kanafu, but we can't have fractional coefficient fayyadamu waan dandeenyeef in balancing chemical balanced equation keessatti jechuudha. So multiplying the all coefficient by 2 to eliminate the fraction. Fraction balleessuudhaaf gamalachuu lamaan baay'ee gaafa baay'ifnu 4 aluminum plus 3 oxygen gives aluminum oxide, the balanced aluminum oxide. So the coefficient of aluminum is 4 balanced in balanced equation. So that you perfectly see. Question number 30. What property of an ionic compound can be investigated by heating in a crucible? Property ionic compounding yo crucible ho isnu argannu isan armangadi kesa isa kam jira. So that should be the melting point. Means that when you heat ionic compound in a crucible, you are typically testing how much heat it can withstand before it melts. Ionic compound have high melting point due to strong electrostatic force between oppositely charged ions in their crystal lattice. So the answer should be perfectly D. When we see other option, crystal point this is refers to the temperature which substance forms crystal from the solution, not relevant to heating solid. When we see B, malleability, ionic compound are brittle, not malleable, and property isn't testing by heating. And also when we see C, solubility is tested by what? Dissolving the compound in solvent, not by heating it. So that's perfectly D. Question number 31. Silver has 2 known isotopes, 107 silver isotope and 108 silver isotope, with their percentage abundance of 52 and 48 respectively. What is the average atomic mass of silver? Silverin isotope gosa lama qaba. Dhibba tokkoof torbaa fi dhibba tokkoof saddeeti. Percentage abundance isaanii 52 fi 48 jechuudha wal duraa duubaan. Kanaafuu average atomic mass in silverii kana meeqa ta'edha? So that should be B 107.48. Akkamitti dhufe kaayidho alaallu. To calculate average atomic mass of silver, we use the formula average atomic mass equal to mass of first isotope times its abundance plus mass of second isotope times its abundance divided by 100. So average of atomic mass of the first is 107 times 52 plus 108 times 48 over 100. This gives 5,564 plus 5,184 divided by 100. So this gives 10,748 over 100. This when we divide 107.48 means 107.48. So then you perfectly B. Question number 32. Which reaction scheme below illustrates the formation of cation? Scheme reaction armangadi kana yolalu cation kan uume isa reaction armangadi keessa isa kam jira. So that should be D. Sodium gives sodium ion plus electron. Means that cation is positively charged ions formed when atom loses one or more electrons. In this reaction, sodium loses one electron in the forming positive ion. So sodium loses one electron forming positive ion cation. This is a classic example of cation formation through oxidation. So that's perfectly D. When we see option A, this reverses of cation formation. When we see option B, the sulfur gaining electron to form anion, not cation. When we see chlorine ions are losing electron to form chlorine gas, but not. But question number 34. Which one of the following mathematical expression of Faraday's first law electrolysis? Isaan armangadi keessa sirri Faraday inni jalqabaa electrolysis keessatti mathematical expression ibsu isaan armangadi keessa isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Means that It is said that mass of substance deposited or liberated at electrode during electrolysis is directly proportional to the quantity of electric charge, which is Q is equal to AIT, passed through the electrolyte. So mathematical expression is equal to first law of Faraday's law, M is equal to MIT over NF, where other choices are not correct. When we see B, it is ideal gas law, resembles ideal gas law, not first law of Faraday's law. When we see C, it is not related to electrolysis, it is possibly misused formula. When we see D, it is second law of Faraday's law, compared to mass of substance deposited by the same charge. So the answer is perfectly A. Question number 35. Which of the following describe the process of manufacturing valuable product in industry? Isaan armaan gadi keessa meeshaalee bu'a qabeessa industirii irraa oomishamu adeemsa isaa kan ibsu isa kami jedha. So that should be D. Designing to produce a desired output from raw materials using energy through different steps. Means that the process of manufacturing valuable product in industry is transforming raw materials into useful products through serious controlled steps involving machinery, energy, and design. So that is perfectly D. When we see other options, they describe the specific process or issue that may occur in industry, but not the define manufacturing itself. So that is perfectly D. Question number 36. Which of the following reaction shows reaction of sulfuric acid as action of sulfuric acid as oxidizing agent? Wanyaati sarmaan gadi keessa sulfuric acidin akka oxidizing agent act kan godhe kan agarsiisu isa kam jedha. So that should be B. Copper solid react with sulfuric acid aqueous. It gives copper sulfate aqueous plus sulfur dioxide gas and water liquid. And here in this reaction, copper is oxidized to form 0 to 2 oxidized state, forming copper ions in copper sulfate. Sulfur in sulfuric acid is reduced to form 6 to 4 ions, forming sulfur gas. This means sulfuric acid acts as oxidizing agent, accepting electron from copper. When we see other options are not correct, for example, if we see A, it is shows double displacement, not redox behavior from sulfuric acid. When we see C, this is a neutralization reaction, acid base, not redox. When we see D, it is also synthesis reaction, not redox or oxidation. So that is perfectly B. Question number 37. For the dissociation of nitrous acid, what is the percent ionization of 0.5 molarity solution of nitrous acid with Ka of nitrous acid is equal to 7.1 times 10 raised to negative 40. As keessatti dissociation nitrous acid percent ionization isa solution keessatti 0.5 molarity kan qabaatu yoo ta'e Kn constant isa 7.1 baay'isuu kunan power negative kudha kan ta'u yoo ta'e percent ionization isa meeqa ta'edha. So that should be B 3.8%. And here to calculate percent ionization kana nitrous acid fayyadamuudhaan barbaaduudhaaf formula kana fayyadamna jechuudha. Percent ionization hydrogen ion irra nitrous acid initially isa dhibbaan baay'isuudhaan arganna jechuudha. Kanaafuu jalqaba acid dissociation constant expression hydrogen ion fayyadamu barbaadu qabna jechuudha. Constant dissociation fayyadamuudha jechuudha. Ergasii kan kenname constant dissociation acid kan kenname acid dissociation constantin 7.1 baay'isuu kunan negative 14 ti. Kanaafuu kun achiramo acid constant Kn for potassium nitrous ion 7.1 baay'isuu negative 4 kanammoo gaafa let xb concentration hydrogen ion inni gaafa let inni deemnu Kn qixxeeta x square irra 0.5 arganna gaafa kana immoo gaafa onnaa goonu kana gaafa formula keessa galchinu 7.1 باعثو نيجاتيفي أفري إرا إكس سكوير 0.5 كل كتيتا إكس سكوير كتيتا عند درا إكس كالتو عند زراري كالو 3.55 times 10 raised to negative 0.5 غافر وجودا كان رفا كان مو غافا سكريت كلا بامنو 0.0 ترغنا كان فو هيدروجين ايون كنا 0.0 تايچو كان غافا ايونيزيشن percent ايونيزيشن فورمولا تيمني سايرو 0.5 غافا 0.0 تي 0.5 غافا يرو 3.4 جارغنا كنا مو approximately 3.8% يرفاچورا so that perfectly be question number 38 a 0.47 molarity aqueous solution of weak base has pH is alama Kb for this weak base is amekataira so that will be D 2.17 times 10 raised to negative 4 tairo akame akaru yalalu to find the base dissociation constant we follow the following step yal makane or dominating base dissociation constant barba natura yalqaba pH OH hydroxyl ion barbana hydroxyl ion argachuudhaaf pH qixxata negative log of hydroxyl ion ida kanafu concentration of hydroxyl ion qixxata 10 the power of negative 2 da kunamu 0.01 molarity ta'ichu kanafu step 2 rat expression is available for weak base dissociation B plus water is equal to B hydrogen ion plus hydroxyl ion ergana ergasemo kana gara formula tigaaf deemnu Kb is equal to OH hydroxyl ion square over B concentration of B minus concentration of hydroxyl ion kuna mogafa kana gonu since 0.01 is small compared to 0.47 we use the appropriate base concentration hydroxyl minus concentration is equal to 0.47 so then when we divide Kb is equal to 4.001 divided by 0.47 which is equal to 4.1 2.13 times 10 raised to negative 4 which is equal to approximately 2.17 times 10 raised to negative 4 so that is perfectly D. Question number 39 a student was given a standard zinc solid and a zinc aqueous half cell and another half cell containing copper imparted in 1 molarity copper sulfate aqueous when zinc was connected to the anode at 25 degrees Celsius the cell potential regarding on the voltmeter shows 1.1 volt which of the following is not correct regarding the cell potential measurement baratan tokko standard copper solid if copper aqueous half cell rat another tokko copper rat immersed akogulu kaname fi gafa zinki anode rat 25 degrees Celsius rat cell potential connect goru volt in agarsiise tokko voltmeter tokko volt agarsiise kana cell potential measurement kana wal qabachuudhan kana armangadi keessa sirri kan intane isa kam jira so that should be a electron travel through external circuit from copper to cathode to zinc anode kayiru sirri mitejo malifi galvanic cell keessatti zinc fi copperin follow electron always go from anode to cathode to one day move sirri mitejo zinkin ka anode irratti uumama kun ammoo oxidized releasing electron akka galaksu godha copperin ammoo cathode irratti gain electron akka fudhatu godha kanafu electrononni zinc irra gara copper itti deemu male copper irra gara zinc deemani so that perfectly a isaan biroo ammoo B C D irra kan jiran waa'ee cell potential kan measurement kan ilaalchisuudha sirriidha so that perfectly kan sirriin ta'an A irra kan jiru qofaadha so that perfectly A. Question number 40 gaafa 40 maal jira which of the following polymer structure represented polypropylene caasaalee armaan gadi keessa polypropylene kabakkabu isa kam jira so that should be B. Structure B qajeelotti polypropylene bakka bu'a isaan biroo ammoo olaalle structure A irra kan jiru ammoo polyester bakka bu'a structure C irra kan jiru ammoo structure C irra kan jiru polypropylene chloride bakka bu'a structure D irra kan jiru ammoo polyethylene bakka bu'a jechuudha so polypropylene ka bakka bu'u B irra kan jirudha so that perfectly B. Question number 41. Which of the following property is property of acid oxide? Acid oxide react with which one? Amalota armaan gadii keessa amalota acid oxide kan bakka bu'u amalota armaan gadii keessa isa kami jedha. Acid oxide kan wajjin wal nyaatu isa kami faanadha. So that should be A. Acid oxide react with water to form what? Acid. So acid oxide are typically non-metal oxide like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide that react with water to produce acid. For example, sulfur dioxide react with water to form sulfurous acid, sulfurous acid. Thus, forming sulfurous acid shows acid nature of sulfur dioxide. So that's perfectly A. When we see other option, B, salt to form acid. See, acid oxide does not react with salt this way. When we see option C, base oxide to form hydroxide and water can use acid may react with basic oxide, but they form salt, not hydroxide. And also when we see option D, base to form acid oxide react with base to form what? Salt and water, not basic hydroxide. So that's perfectly A. Question number 42. What is the name given to an acid that dissociate or ionize only to slight exact in aqueous solution? Maqaan acidii dissociate ta'u yookiin slight hamma tokko qofa kan bulbulamu acidii hamma tokko qofa bulbulamu maqaan kennamu isaan armaan gadii keessa isa kam jedha. Guutumaan guututti acidii hin bulbulamne jechuudha. Haga tokko bichaa kan bulbulamu jechuudha. So that should be D, weak acid. Means that weak acid is the one that only partially ionized in aqueous solution. That means only a small fraction of its molecule release ions, hydrogen ions. The rest remain intact or constant in the solution. Example, acetic acid, carbonic acid we can take. When we see other options are not slightly dissociate in water. For example, when we see A, strong acid completely ionized in water. When we see option B, it refers to low concentration, not ionization strength. When we see option C, it is refers to high concentration, again, not ionization strength. So that is perfectly D. Question number 43. Solution can be classified based upon their pH values. What is the solution whose pH value? Solution in pH value saaratun daudhan adda qonna. Kanafu solution in pH value isa kudha sadi ta'e maal jedhamuun beekamadha. So that should be C, basic solution. Means that pH value 0 haga 14 jira. 0 haga 6 kan jiru acidic dha. torba qofarra kan dhaabbate immoo neutral dha jechuudha. Bishaan jechuudha. Acidic basic kan hin taane jechuudha. 8 haga 14 kan jiru ammoo basic dha jechuudha. Kanaafuu yeroo jaarraa gara 0tti gad deemnu hamma acidummaan dabala akkasuma kan basic ammoo faallaa saniiti jechuudha. 8 irraa gara 14tti yeroo deemnu hammi basic dabalaa deemaa jechuudha. Kanaafuu solutionin pH isaa 13 ta'e basic cimaadha jechuudha. Strongly basic dha jechuudha. Inni biraamoo ampheteric substance kanneen jennuun akka basic akka acidic kan act gochuu danda'udha. So that is perfectly C, basic solution. Question number 44. During laboratory class, a student placed a clean water in beaker and added a piece of calcium metal using tongs. After the reaction is completed, he or she tested the solution using red litmus paper. Which of the following will be observed? Yeroo barnoota laboratory keessatti barataan tokko bishaan qulqulluu beekaritti naqee ergasii sibiila kaalsheemii xinnoo tokko maqasaan qabuudhaan gaafa keessa buusu erga reactionin sun dhumate booda yookiin raawwate booda litmasii waraqaa litmasiidhaan gaafa solutionii kana waraqaa litmasii keessa kaa'u barataan kun maal argaa yookiin barattuun kun maal argiti jedha. So that should be B. The litmus paper turns to blue. Means that when calcium metal is added to water, it reacts to form calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So calcium hydroxide is a strong base, making solution is alkaline, so red litmus paper turn to blue in the basic solution. So the answer should perfectly be. It turns to red, it happens acidic solution, not basic solution. When we see option A, can jasolalu, its litmus paper does not become colorless, and also diolalu only if solution is neutral, not which is not exist or not isn't. So that should perfectly be. Question number 45. Which of the following statement correctly describes the relationship between among wavelengths, frequency, speed in electromagnetic radiation? Isaan himoota armaan gadii keessa waa'ee walitti dhufeenya wavelengths, frequency fi speed electromagnetic radiation keessatti sirrii kan ibse isa kam jedha. So that should be A. As wavelengths decrease, frequency increase. Means that in electromagnetic radiation flow, the relationship that the frequency, the speed of light is equal to wavelengths times frequency. So speed of light is constant in vacuum. Wavelength V, L is wavelength and V is frequency. So speed of light is constant. Wavelengths and frequency are inversely related. So if wavelengths decrease, frequency increase, and if wavelengths increase, frequency decrease. So the answer perfectly A. When we see other option, B is not correct, C and D are also not correct. Why they are not correct, I have written them, so read. Question number 46. Which of the following organic compound has highest boiling point? Organic compound armaan gadi keessa boiling point qabxii daffina guddaa kan qabu isa kam jedha. So that should be B, ethanol. Means that ethanol has high boiling point, which is 78 degrees Celsius. Ethanol contains hydroxyl group, which allows it to strong hydrogen bond between its molecules. So hydrogen bonding is significantly increased boiling point compared to other compound similar molecular weight. So kan wal bira qabna yoo laallu ethene baay'ee hundarrayyuu baay'ee dadhabaadha jechuudha. Qabxi boiling point isaa baay'ee gadaanaadha jechuudha. Etheenis ittaaneeti gadaanaadha. Ethanolin diqqoo isarraa wayyaadha. 21 jecha boiling point isaa garuu immoo ethanolin baay'ee guddaadha. Hydrogen bonding waan qabuuf jechuudha. Qabxiin daffina isaa 78 degrees Celsius dha jechuudha. So that is perfectly B. Question number 47. What is Lewis base? It is Lewis base jechuun maal jechuudha? Inni kana akkamitidha? So that should be C. It is electron pair door. Electron pair dots. Donor. Means that the Lewis base is substance that donates an electron pairs to form covalent bond. This definition comes from Lewis acid base theory, which focus on movement of electrons, not protons. Common example: ammonia donates lone pairs, and also hydroxyl ion donates electrons to form bonds. When we see other options are not correct, for example, if we see A, it is Bronsted Lowry base, not significantly Lewis base. If we see B, it is also Bronsted Lowry acid. And we see D, that is defined Lewis acid, counterpart to Lewis base. So that should perfectly C. Question number 48. Given the following information which of the following expression represents percent ionization of acetic acid? Acetic acid yookiin immoo isa armaan galee nu kenname kana fo gabatte keessa nu kenname kana irratti hundaa'uudhaan percent ionization kabakabu formula A baca ada jiru kana keessa isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Look, percent ionization is the ratio of concentration of ionized acid to initial concentration of acid or base multiplied by 100, which means that percent ionization is equal to concentration of ionized acid divided by initial concentration of the acid times 100%. So from the given table, concentration of ionized ion is X at equilibrium X, and initial concentration of the given compound is 0.2 molar per liter. So percent ionization is equal to X over 0.2 times 100%. So that is perfectly A. Question number 49. Scandium has the electron configuration argon 4s2 3d1. To which group of element does it belong to? Scandium electron configuration argon irratti 4s2 fi 3d tokko kan qabaatu yoo ta'e elementin kun garee kam keessatti argama jedha. So that should be A, transition element. Means that scandium has what? Electron configuration argon plus 4s2 3d1, which means that electrons is d orbital keessatti argama. So defining the future of transition element ta'uusa asumarra d orbital keessatti kanneen argaman elementoota ce'umsaa transition element dha jechuudha. Located in 3 group garee sadaffaa keessatti argama jechuudha. 3d waan ta'eef jechuudha. Break table keessatti garee sadaffaa keessatti argama. Blocking inni argamu d keessatti property inni qabatamoo transition metal property qabata jechuudha. Forming color, compound and variable oxidation state kanneen qabanidha jechuudha. So that is perfectly A. B yoo fudhanne representative elementonni SPP block keessatti argamu, not D block keessatti argamani. Non metal yoo fudhanne kun ammoo scandium metal dha waan ta'eef non metal miti asumatti ol gataniiru. Daas wana inner transition element illee miti jechuudha. Inner transition element kanneen jennuun F block keessatti elementoota argamanidha kanneen akka lactandizes fi actandizes kanneen jennuun jechuudha. So that is perfectly A. Question number 50. A student carry out an experiment to determine melting point of sodium chloride and copper chloride. He or she added 0.2 gram of sodium chloride and copper chloride into 2 different test tubes and heated. So in here barata kana maaltu kenname akka experimenti tokko melting point sodium chloride fi copper chloride akka adda baasu experimenti dha kenname fi jira. Kanafu test tube lama keessatti copper chloride fi sodium chloride lamaanu garagaratti gramii 0.2 gramii tu test tube keessatti naqeera. Suutaan jedhe Bunsen burner lamaan isaaniitu gaafa ho'isu himoota armaan gadi keessa regard why melting point sodium chloride fi copper chloride himoota armaan gadi keessa inni dhugaa ta'e isa kam inni sirrii ta'e isa kam jedha. So that should be A, the melting point of sodium chloride is higher than that of copper chloride. Here the sodium chloride has what melting point is a 8 degree Celsius dha. Copper in ammo copper chloride in melting point is at 498 degrees Celsius. This means that sodium requires significantly more heat than melting compared to copper chloride. So when both are heated simultaneously, with Bunsen burner, copper will melt first, copper chloride will melt first, and the sodium chloride may not melt at under typical life condition. Kanafu lamaan isaaniitu gaafa wal bira laallu copper chloride dafee baqa, sodium chloride ammoo odoo hin baqne turaa jechuudha. Maaliif ho'a guddaa waan barbaaduuf jechuudha. Kanafu deebiin isaa aataa melting point sodium chloride isa copper chloride irra guddaadha jechuudha. Filannoo biroo yoo laallu ammoo baarra kan jiru faalla aati. Question number 51. Consider the molecular structure of carbon oxygen chloride shown, or it is known as phosgene structure. What is predicted bond angle of chlorine carbon oxygen and chlorine carbon chlorine? Kanafu phosgene kuni bond angle chlorine carbon oxygen fi chlorine carbon chlorine jiddatu uumamuu danda'u bond angle akkamitti uumamuu danda'udha. So that should be C, chlorine carbon oxygen is less than 120 degree, and chlorine carbon chlorine is greater than 100 degree angles, which means that phosgene has trigonal planar geometry around the central carbon atom due to what? sp2 hybridization. So ideally all angles are equal, but would be 120, but due to difference in electronegativity and bond repulsion, it causes a slight difference or deviations. So oxygen is more electronegative than chlorine, pulling electron density strongly and compressing chlorine carbon oxygen angle below, slightly below 120 degree, and this compression causes chlorine carbon chlorine angle to expand slightly, making above 120 degree. So that you perfectly see. Question number 52. What is the cause of unusual high boiling point of hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen fluoride, water and ammonia? Boiling point in qabxiin daffina compound kanneen hydrogen fluoride bishaan fi ammonia akka guddaa ta'u kan godhu sababbii isaan jidduu isaaniitti maal qabanii fi jedha. So that should be D, hydrogen bonding. Means that hydrogen bonding causes high boiling point because it creates strong intermolecular force attraction that require more energy to break when substance transition from liquid to gas. So all hydrogen fluoride, water and ammonia all exhibit hydrogen bonding, particularly strong type of bond strong type of intermolecular force that occurs when hydrogen is bonded to highly electronegative atoms like fluorine, oxygen and nitrogen. So that is perfectly D. Question number 53. Which statement below describe correctly the assumption in kinetic theory of gases? Himota armaan gadii keessa assumption yookiin tilmaama kinetic theory gaasii sirrii kan ibsa isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Gas molecules are in random motion with no interaction. Means that gas molecules are what? In constant random motion. Collision between molecules and the container walls are perfectly elastic. So there are no intermolecular force, that meaning no interactions between the gas particles. So the volume of gases molecule is negligible compared to the container, and the kinetic energy average kinetic energy of gas molecule is directly proportional to temperature in Kelvin. So that is perfectly A. Option B, C, D are not correct. Why they are not correct? I have rewritten them. So read them. Question number 54. If the rate of diffusion of certain unknown gas is half times the rate of diffusion of the helium, what will be the molar mass of unknown gas? Atomic mass of helium is 4 grams per mole. Rate in diffusion gas in beekamne tokko lammaffaa rate diffusion helium kan ta'u yoo ta'e, molar mass in gas hin beekamne kana meeqa ta'edha? Molar mass in helium, atomic mass helium in 4 grams per mole kan ta'u ta'edha. So that should be D, 16 grams per mole. So to solve this, we use Gram's law diffusion, which is rate of division 1 over rate of division 2 equal to mass of molar mass of gas 1 over molar mass of gas 2 in square root. So in here, rate of unknown gas is half of the helium, which is rate of unknown gas over rate of helium equal to 1 over 2. So molar mass of helium is 4 grams per mole. So then put into the Gram's law. 1 over 2 is equal to what? 1 over 2 is equal to the square root of 4 over molar mass of gas 2. So then square both sides. Square root balleessuudhaan maal goona? Lama gama lachuyyuu square goona. Kanaafuu square root nin bada afur jala mass of unknown, molar mass of unknown gas jennaani. Kanaafuu ergasii ammoo kana gaafa rearrange goonu, criss cross gaafa goonu, molar mass of unknown gas equal to 4 times 4, which is equal to 60 grams per mole. So that is perfectly D. Question number 55. A student added boiling chips into a beaker of water while carrying out an activity to determine the boiling point of water. Why do you think boiling chips are necessary? Barataan tokko boiling chips beaker keessatti dabaluudhaan akka qabxii dafina bishaanii kana hubachuudhaaf keessa kan buuse yoo ta'e barataan kun chips baay'ee daffe maaliif bishaan keessa buuse jettanii maaliif barbaachisa jedha. So that should be to ensure a smooth rate of evaporation. Kanaafu bishaan suutaan akka hurkuuf jechuudha wanta chips yoo akana daffaa kana onna bishaanitti buuse jechuudha. So boiling chips or also called boiling stone yookiin dhagaa ho'aa jechuudha, dhagaa baay'ee ho'aa jechuudha. So porous material that provide nucleations site for bubble formation during the boiling. This helps to prevent superheating and bumping, which can cause sudden volatile boiling. They promote steady, controlled boiling by allowing vapor bubbles to form more easily. Without them, liquid can superheat and boil explosions explosively, which is both unsafe and inaccurate for measurement like boiling point. So that perfectly be. When we see option A, C, D are not correct, why they are not correct, I've written them. So read boiling chips do not increase the rate of evaporation. When we see C, they do not reduce the energy needed to boil water. When we see D, not boiling chips, it is control external condition. So that perfectly be. Question number 56. What is the oxidation number of manganese? Manganese in potassium manganese oxide. So can have oxidation number manganese in compound can so that should be D positive 7. Here to determine oxidation number of manganese in this compound, let's break down. All potassium always in ronda positive toko charge in satura ionizes toko can oxygen negative lama manganese one bene let's call it be X neodemne. So then compound kana keessa hunda yoo walitti neutrally waan ta'eef wanna isaanii oxidation number hunda isaanii gaafa walitti edaanu 0 ni kennu qaba jechuudha. Kanaafuu 1 potassium plus X magnesium plus 4 oxygen is equal to what? 0. So kana gaafa walitti edaanu tokko eda'u X eda'u 4 baay'isu negative lama is equal to 0. Kana jechuun tokko eda'u X hir'isu 8 0 ta'a. Kanammoo X tire isu torba 0 ta'a ta'ote gatiin ta'a giteeta positive torba ta'a jechuudha. Kanaafuu manganese has what? Oxidation number of positive 7 in this compound. Question number 57. 2-methyl 1-butene is one of the isomer of carbon 5H10. Which of the following correct structural formula for this isomer? Kanaafuu isomer nu akkaataa nu itti dubbisuu dandeenyu 2-methyl 1-butene kan qabu compound armangadi keessa structure isomer isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Look, 2-methyl 1-butene branched alkene with molecular formula kana wajin gaafa kenyu break gone gaafa kenyu butene carbon afur qaba. Kanaafuu chain dheeraa butene ta'a jechuudha. Kana 1-butene kan jennuun double bond start at what? At carbon number 1 irraa ka'uu isaanii agarsiisa jechuudha. 2-methyl gaafa jennu carbon methyl groupin carbon number 2 irratti hidhamuu isaanii agarsiisa jechuudha. So structure dhaan gaafa kennu 1-butene 2-methyl jenne haala kanaan dubbifna jechuudha. Kanaafuu 2-methyl 1-butene jenne haala kanaan kenna jechuudha. So filannoo biraa walaallu baara kan jiru 3-methyl 1-butene mul'isa. Caara kan jiru pent 2E ni mul'isa. Daara kan jiru hodhaan 2-methyl 2-butene mul'isa. Kanaafuu deebiin sirriin aara kan jiru jechuudha. So that is perfectly A. Question number 58. Which of the following organic compound is used for production of 1,2-ethanediol? Organic compound armangadi keessa 1,2-ethanediol oomishuudhaaf kan fayyadamnu isa kam jedha. So that should be B. Ethene. Means that 1,2 ethane diol, also known as ethylene glycol, is commonly produced from ethene through two-step industrial process. These are first, ethene is oxidized to ethylene oxide. Then in step 2, ethylene oxide is then hydrolyzed into ethylene glycol. So that should perfectly be. The other options are not correct. A, for example, if we take A, it is saturated hydrocarbon. Ethane is not reactive enough for this synthesis. When we see ethanol, it is already contained one OH group, but not used industrially to make ethylene glycol. When we see D, ethyne, triple bond alkyne, not preferred route for these production diols, so that perfectly B. Question number 59. Which of the following is the main constituent of natural gas? Isaan armaan gadii keessaa qabiyyee gaasii uumamaa guddaa kan ta'e baay'inaan gaasii uumamaa keessatti kan argamu isa kami jedha. So that should be C, methane. Means that natural gas primarily composed of methane, which is typically make up of 70 to 90% of its volume. So methane is the simplest hydrocarbon consisting one carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. It is colorless, odorless, and highly flammable, making it an efficient fuel source. So that is perfectly C. The other options are not found in natural gas as a main or dominant natural gas. For example, butane is found as a liquid petroleum gas, not dominant in natural gas. Ethane is also present in a small amount of natural gas, but not the main component. Propane is found in liquefied petroleum gas, not in dominant natural gas. So that is perfectly C. Question number 60. In order to avoid the decrease in quality of some clothes after washing with water, which of the following chemical is used to dry cleaning? Uffata ku erga miicine booda qualitiin isaa akka gad hin buune keemikaalli itti fayyadamnu uffata san gosuudhaaf keemikaalota armaan gadii keessaa isa kam jedha. So the answer should be C, which is known as tetrachloroethylene or perchloroethylene. Perchloro or tetrachloroethylene is the main solvent used in traditional drying cleaning. It is effectively dissolves oils, greases, other strains which without water, which helps to preserve the texture, color, and shape of delicate fabric like silk, wool, and rayon. The other options are not correct. Why they are not correct? I have been read them. Question number 61. Consider the following equilibrium constant, equilibrium reaction at 298 Kelvin. So what is the equilibrium constant at this temperature? Temperature can arratti equilibrium constant in make a tire. So that should be C, 3.9 times 10 raised to negative 14. So given in nukenamera potassium nitrating, potassium nitrous oxide, akkasuma hundi isaanii nukenamera kana irratti hundaa'uudhaaf jenna. Kanaafuu then Kp is equal to PNO kana gaafa formula kana galchine jenna. Kana gaafa formula kana galchine jennu 2.5 times 10 raised to negative 5 square times 3.5 times 10 raised to negative 5 over 0.75 square. Kana gaafa goonu then multiplying by 3.5 times raised to negative 5 kana gaafa waliin by divided by kana gaafa kana hirru meeqa arganna 3.89 times raised to negative 40 arganna jechuudha. Kana gaafa karaa hirru mo approximately gaafa lessinu Kp kenna yookiin constant equilibrium kenna 3.9 times 10 raised to negative 14 arganna jechuudha. So that is perfectly C. Question number 62. The molecule of bromine pentafluoride has both bonding and a lone pair of electrons. Based upon these electrons, which one of the following, which one correct molecular geometry of molecule of bromine pentafluoride? Bromine pentafluoride in molecular geometry akkami qabara gabaamatti. So that should be A, square pyramidal qabaa jira akkamitti kan jiru alaallu using the VSEPR theory, we determine the bromine surrounded by 5 bonding pairs of the fluoride atom and the 1 lone pair, giving it steric number 6. So this corresponds octahedral electron geometry, but 1 lone pair is there, which is actual geometry becomes square pyramidal. So that's perfectly A. The other are not correct. Why they are not? I'll write them, read them. Question number 63. Consider the structure of an alcohol shown in below. What is the type of alcohol it is? Structure can allow an alcohol in kun maljar amun dubbi hamayara. So that should be C, dihydric alcohol. Means that this molecule contains 2OH hydroxyl group, which makes dihydric alcohol. So alcohol with 1 OH group is monohydric. Alcohol with 2 OH is known as dihydric. Alcohol with more than 2 OH group is known as polyhydric. So kun OH group lama waan qabuuf dihydric or diols jedhamuun beekamaa jira. So that should perfectly see. Option bira ibseera R kan jiru polyhydric kan jennu baay'ee lama ol kan qabaatu yoo ta'e OH groupi bar kan jiru mo tetra kan jennu sadii yoo qabaatedha. Primary kan jennu tokko yoo qabaatedha. So that should perfectly see. Question number 64. What is the IUPAC name for the following carboxylic acid? Carboxylic acid kanaaf IUPAC naming isa kamita ayada. So that should be A, 3-chlorooctandioic acid. Means that longest chain in isa carbon is a decaba octane ita usanu banna ergasi maal tura hidame 2 carboxylic acid group lama qaba octanodioic acid akka ta'u godha jechuun ammoo ergasi ammoo carbon number 3 irratti ammoo chlorine hidhameera kun ammoo chlorone jiraachuun mul'isa. Kanaaf walumaa galatti International Union of Pure Applied Chemistry naming isa maal ta'a 3-chlorooctane dioic acid ta'a jechuudha. So the answer is perfectly A. Question number 65. Which law governs the fact that the ratio of amount of hydrogen to oxygen by weight will be the same in a drop of water and a lake of water? Sirri hydrogen fi oxygen weight isaanii jidduu jiru bishaan xabo coba tokkoo fi bishaan galaana yookiin hara tokkootiin wal qixa isaan godhu ratio isaa seera isa kami jedha. So that should be C, law of definite composition. Means that law of definite composition, also called law of constant composition, states that a given chemical compound always contains its component elements in fixed ratio by mass regardless sample size or source. So whether you are analyzing the single drop of water or entire lake, the mass ratio of hydrogen to oxygen will be always approximately 1:8 because water is made from 2 hydrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom. So oxygen is amount 60 times heavier than hydrogen. So that is perfectly C. The other are not correct. Why are they? They are not correct. I will read them. So that is perfectly C. Question number 66. Which statement below correctly describe the characteristics of chemical equilibrium? Himotar mangadi kessa amala chemical equilibrium qajeelotti kan ibsa yookiin sirrii kan ibsa isa kam jedha. So that should be D. The rate of forward and reverse reaction are equal. Chemical equilibrium keessatti rating forward fi reactant fi product wal qixa jechuudha. Forward fi reverse illee wal qixa jechuudha. Kana jechuun concentration reactant product dhaabbataadha jechuudha yookiin wal qixa jechuudha. Kanaafuu change no net change in jiraatu jechuudha. So dynamic state keessa jiru no static one, not static one. Molecules are still reacting, just balanced rate. Kanaafuu molecules wal nyaatuudhaan balanced state keessa jiraatu jechuudha. So that should perfectly D. The other option are not correct. Maalif akka sirrii hin taanes barreessee jira tokko tokkoon dubbisa. So that is perfectly D. Question number 67. What is the correct International Union for analytical chemistry nomenclature of the following alkane? Alkane are mangadi akka aqueous name yookiin moggaasa aqueous hititti alkeni armaan gadi maqaan sirrii isaa maal jedhamuun beekamaadha. So that should be C 4,6 dichloro 8 ethyl 2 methyl nonene jedhamuun beekamaa jechuudha. So step jalqabaa irratti longest chain carbon dheeraa meeqa taara sagaleedha. Kanaafuu nonene jennaani. Itti aansine numbering chain isaanii substitute lowest possible number kenninaafi gaafa kenninuuf left right yookiin ammoo right gara left itti mirgarraa gara bitaa yookiin bitaarraa gara mirgaatti kennuudha ilaalla. Ergasii ammoo substitute nu kenne kun alphabetically kennaa jechuudha. Kan dura oolu ethyl methyl kan jedhu alphabetically arrange gaafa koonu dichloro ethyl methyl ta'uudhaan haala kanaan deemaa jechuudha. Gaafa haala kanaan kennu 4,6 dichloro 8 ethyl 2 methyl nonene jedhuudhaan moggaasna jechuudha. So that is perfectly C. Question number 68. What is the name given to compound of carbon hydrogen containing multiple bonds? Compounding carbon hydrogen qabu multi bondi baay'ee of keessaa qabu maal jedhamu moggaafama jedha. So that should be C unsaturated hydrocarbons. Means that unsaturated hydrocarbons are compound made from carbon hydrogen that contain at least one double bond and a triple bond between carbon atoms. So these multiple bonds mean molecule does not have maximum number of hydrogen bond atoms, hence it is unsaturated. So there are two types of main types, alkenes and alkynes. Alkenes contain at least one double bond, example ethene. Alkynes contain at least one triple bond, for example we can take ethene. So that is perfectly C. The other options are not correct. Why they are not correct? I have been written, read them. Question number 69. The following reaction can be used for synthesis of this compound desired product. Which of the following atom economy for the above reaction? Reaction alma oli red atom economy make a raya, so that should be B 30.43%. So to calculate atom economy we use the formula. Atom economy fayyadamu barbadu wanti formula no fayyadamu atom economy equal to molecular mass of desired product over total molar mass of the all product times 100. Then jalqaba identify product in reaction irra adda baafna desired product akkasuma by product in eenyu fee kan jedhu adda baafna. Erga kana adda baafne gaafa calculate molar mass isaan gaafa calculate goonu molar mass compound isaan 56 gram dha. Akkasuma isa methyl sulfide hydride gaafa illee isa jennu 48 gram ta. Akkasuma bromide ammoo 80 gram qaba. Kanaafuu gaafa walitti dhufnu atom economy desired product 56 qaba. desired product 56 kanaafuu 56 eda'u hiruu 56 hiruu 56 eda'u 48 eda'u 80 baay'ee dhibbaati. Kana gaafa walii hiruu immoo 30 tuqaa 40% arganna jechuudha. So that is perfectly B. Question number 70. Which of the following process involves preventing growth of bacteria, fungi and reducing oxidation of fat? Adeemsa armaan gadii kan bakteeriyaan akka hin guddanne godhu bakteeriyaa fangasii fi bakteeriyaa fangasii akka hin guddanne godhuu fi akkasuma oxidation of fatty diqqeessu isaan armaan gadii keessaa mala isa kam jedha. So that should be D food preservation. So food preservation keessatti soorata gaa preserve goonu bakteeriyaan hin guddatu fangasii illee hin guddatu. Kun ammoo mala refrigerator fayyadamuudhaan ta'uu danda'a, goggosuudhaan ta'uu danda'a, yookiin ashaboo fayyadamuu danda'a, yookiin ammoo adding preservative biraa fayyadamuu danda'a jechuudha. Reducing oxidation of fat kun ammoo prevent an acidity fi spoliation akka hin uumamne godha. Kanaafuu kun sooranni sun umrii dheeraa akka qabaatu osoo hin faalamne oduu hin baaqne akka yeroo dheeraaf turu godha. So that is perfectly D. Inni biroo filannoo waan biroo yoo laalle kana faana hin deeman adeemsa kana faana hin deemnedha. So that is perfectly D. Question number 71. Which of the following is overall reaction for electrolysis for molten sodium chloride? Isaan armaan gadii keessaa overall reaction electrolysis molten sodium chloride kan mul'isu isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Sodium ion liquid plus chlorine ion liquid, it gives sodium liquid plus 1/2 chlorine gas. And here, during electrolysis of molten sodium chloride, sodium ions are reduced at cathode to form sodium metal, and the chlorine ions oxidized at anode to form chlorine gas. So, since chlorine ions are needed to form chlorine molecules, one chlorine molecule, balanced overall reaction is the sodium ion plus chlorine ion. It gives sodium ion 1/2 chlorine gas. So that is perfectly A. When we see B, this reverses actual electrolysis. When we see and D are also related to electrolysis or combustion of water, not molten sodium chloride. So that is perfectly A. Question number 72. Which of the following occurred during electrolysis of dilute sulfuric acid? Isar mangadi kessa yero electrolysis dilute sulfuric acid can umamu isa kami jedha. So that should be D. Hydrogen ion is discharged at negative electrode. Means that when dilute sulfuric acid is undergo electrolysis at the cathode, negative electrode hydrogen ions are reduced to form hydrogen gas, and water molecules are oxidized to form oxygen gas. Again, sulfate ions are not discharged because water is more easily oxidized. So the solution remains acidic, not basic, due to the regeneration of hydrogen ions at anode. So that is perfectly D. When we see other options, A is not correct because it is a reverse happen to electrolysis. When we see B, sulfate is discharged at anode, it is also incorrect. That is partially, preferentially oxidized over the sulfate ions. And also when we see C, this is also reverse of what happened during electrolysis. Those are the answer perfectly D. Question number 73. Which statement below correctly distinguish redox and non-redox reaction? Himatar mangadi kessa garagarummaa redox fi non-redox reaction adda baasuudhaan qajeellotti kan ibsu yookiin sirrii ibseessa kam jedha. So that should be B. Electrons are transferred in redox reaction but not in non-redox reaction. So that should perfectly be. Means that redox reaction, short term of reduction oxidation reaction, are defined by transfer of electron between species. Oxidation means loss of electron, reduction means gain of electrons. This electron exchange leads to the changes in oxidation number of the involved element. In contrast, non-redox reaction such as acid-base neutralization and precipitation reaction do not involve electron transfer. So that should perfectly be. When we see other options, they are not correct. Why they are not correct? I have written it, so read them. So that should perfectly be. Question number 74. Given the reaction, what equilibrium constant expression for the reaction? Reaction in can written down equilibrium constant expression is a come. So that should be A. Means that the correct equilibrium constant what is written on option A. Solid like carbon solid are not included in equilibrium expression because their concentration or activity is constant. Only gaseous or aqueous species are considered. So the correct expression is K is equal to carbon dioxide concentration square over carbon monoxide concentration square over carbon dioxide concentration. So that is perfectly A. The other options are not correct because B include carbon solid, which is not valid. C and D also incorrect, include carbon solid, which is in this expression. So that is perfectly A. Question number 75. Which of the following pair of substances can be considered as an example of liquid state of matter at room temperature and 1 atmospheric pressure? Substance peritan yookiin dachaan jira armaan gadi keessaa fakkeenya liquid state yookiin room temperature itti dhangala'aa kan ta'e 1 atmospheric pressure irratti jechuudha. Isa armaan gadi keessaa isa kam jedha? So that should be D, water and mercury. Means that water and mercury both are liquid at room temperature. The other are not correct because why are not correct? For example, carbon is gas. Carbon dioxide is gas in A. In B, carbon is solid. In C, carbon is also solid. So at room temperature, both liquid is water and mercury. So the answer perfectly D. Question number 76. Which gas law describes the behavior of gas using variable temperature, volume, pressure, and the number of moles? Gosoota seera gaasii keessa kan amaloota gaasii kan variable temperature, volume fi pressure fi akkasuma number of mole fayyadamu isa kam jedha. So that should be B, ideal gas law. Seera ideal gas law jedhamudha jechuudha. Ideal gas law is only gas law that incorporate all four key variables: pressure, volume, temperature, number of moles. It is expressed by PV is equal to N RT, when R is universal constant. So in this equation, model of behavior ideal gas under various conditions, so that perfectly B. The other Boyle's law, it relates to pressure and volume only. When we see combined gas law, it combined Boyle's, Charles, and the gas law, but not include the moles. Avogadro law relates to volume and number of moles at constant temperature and pressure, so that is perfectly B. Question number 77. Which one of the following correctly shows relative charges of an electron, proton, and neutron respectively? Himoota armaan gadii keessa chargii elektiroonii, protonii fi neutroniin qaban wal duraa duubaan kan ibse yookiin kan qabu filannoo isa kami jedha. So that should be D. Means that subatomic particle yoo laalle electric charge isaan qaban wajjin yoo laalle elektirooniin negative tokko qaba, negatively charged dha. Protoniin positive tokko qaba, positively charged dha. Neutroniin zero dha jechuudha. Neutroniin zero dha, electrically neutral dha jechuudha. This balance of charges fundamental to atomic structure keessatti one orbit nucleus keessatti contain proton neutroniin kan of keessa qabu yoo ta'u, overall charges neutral atom is zero because number of proton and equal to the number of electron. Kanaafuu deebiin keenya daara kan jiru sirriidha jechuudha. So that is perfectly D. Question number 78. Which statement below correctly describe Boyer's model of an atom? Himoota armaan gadii keessa Boyer's model of atom sirrii kan ibse isa kam jedha. So that should be C. Electron move in circular orbit around the nucleus. Means that Boyer's model of atom proposed by Niels Bohr in 1913 describes the atom of having a central nucleus containing proton and neutron, electrons that move fixed circular orbit, energy level or shell around the nucleus. This model was revolutionary because it is introduced ideal that electrons occupy quantized energy levels and can jump between them by absorbing or emitting energy. So that is perfectly C. The other options are not correct. I have been writing what are wrong, so that is perfectly C. Question number 79. Which statement below correctly describe predicity is? Why predicity yookiin gabate predictably sirrii kan ibsa isaan mangadi keessaa kam jedha. So that should be B. A regular repetition of chemical and physical property of predictable. Means that predicity is refers to the recurring trends in the property of elements as you move across the predicts, rounds or down groups or columns in the predictable. So that should perfectly be. The other options are not correct. What they are not, I've written them. Also read them. Question number 18. Question number 80. Which statement below correctly express hydrogen bonding? It is formed by bonding. Himoota armaan gadii keessa hydrogen bonding sirrii kan ibse isa kam jedha. So that should be A. Hydrogen bond atom to an element such as oxygen. Means that hydrogen bonding is especially type of intermolecular force that occur when hydrogen atom is covalently bound to highly electronegative atom such as oxygen, nitrogen, fluorine, then interact with another electronegative atom nearby. So that is perfectly A. The other are not correct. Why are they not correct? I've been writing. So read H incorrect choice. So then you perfectly A. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget like, subscribe, share, comment. Alisans YouTube channel. Video kana wan agefatani gudda galatoma yero ittanu. Video entrance exam physics qabadhe hagarfut yero gari sinataw. If you have any question or suggestion or comment, please write under comment. Until I come back with other tutorial video. Don't forget liking, subscribe, share, comment Alisans YouTube channel. Wari liking gona like gochun, subscribe gochun Alisans YouTube mati taunda gatna yero ittanu. Or mata bra qabadhe hagarfutti yero gari sinataw. Thank you. Welcome back again. Thank you again. Welcome back again.